Okay, we are live. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Day. This is Unity of Springfield, Missouri. And it's Mother's Day 2024. And today we're finishing up on Q. Good morning, LB. Make sure to take a paper there. This is our third part series on Q. And Q is kind of a compilation of the sometimes exact quotations, but more often similar quotations coming from Matthew and Luke, which a guy in Germany back in 1838 postulated that these actually came from a book, or what was then known as a codex, and Bible scholars today pretty much accept that there was such a book, but it has never been found. So Q is actually taken from Matthew and Luke, and on your paper you can see those quotes from Matthew and from Luke that are similar. These are not quotes in Mark. Mark was the first gospel written. They are not quotes that are found anywhere else in the Bible other than Matthew and Luke. Matthew and Luke did not know each other, and so that is why they believe that these had a source. Q actually stands for the word quell, Q-U-E-L-L-E, and quell actually means source. So this was very intriguing to me. The reason that I was so enamored with doing a class on Q is because Bible scholars believe that these are the original sayings of Christ, of Jesus. And there's, anyway, it just has more validity to it. So anyway, that's why I'm doing this. So if we can, this morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's get started with just a little centering. Let's just relax in our chairs, our seats. If you'd like, just invite you to close your eyes and maybe just have your feet relaxed on good old Mother Earth, or what's on top of Mother Earth. Recognize that beauty that is inside of you, that divine energy. Recognizing the oneness that you are with the one, with all. And imagine that energy coming into you like a stream of love, flowing from the top of your head down in through your arms and shoulders, flowing down through your chest, your abdomen, flowing down through your hips, your legs, down into your feet, and flowing back into the earth. And you are connected to that great Mother Earth that we all share. And that river of love continuously flows, continuously giving you life, giving you divine energy, filling you with bliss, accentuating the love that you have inside of you. emotions that we can only imagine is heaven. And let this river flow through you all throughout the day. Feel its presence. Continuously reminding ourselves, life is what we are here for. Julia is our path. And with that, we say, Amen.
Amen.
Could someone grab the papers on that table and maybe pass them out? If you didn't get a paper, we're going to be following this paper today. We're going to be doing Q 27 or 17 through 27. I think most of you have been here, so I don't need to explain Q again. By the time we get done today, hey, good morning, John, welcome back. By the time we get done today, we're going to have finished about a third of the quotes coming from Jesus, taken from Matthew and from Luke. And then I'm not going to go into any more of those for the time being. I'll probably do another, 3-part series on Q again. I'll probably do another for the book. And the reason this is important to me is because I truly believe, just in my studies, that these are the original, authentic quotations of Jesus. And so if our unity in the Christian faith is based upon the words of Christ, then we can take these as our foundation. And so in Unity we teach that our master teacher is Jesus. We don't necessarily, I'm not going to speak for everyone, we don't necessarily believe that Jesus was here to promote himself to being worshipped, but was actually here to teach us. And Jesus, in more than one parts of the Bible, has said, your main task is to worship God. And of course, one of the other things that he said, the most important thing was to love God and to love your neighbor. So, that I'm trying to, for myself, just try to relate, what are the most important things for me to incorporate in myself? And these things would be it. So let's go ahead and get started. I do like to have people read the quotes, and we've got a microphone here. Can anybody be in charge? Maybe John? Great. John's always great for giving, and thank you so much, John. We're going to read the quote, and it's going to be in the italics and Q17. Got a volunteer.
What number?
17. Q7. First page, Brenda. Top of the page. Q17.
I don't know if we're going to do it that way. That'd be all.
Off the page.
We ready?
Yeah.
Be compassionate, as your Father is compassionate. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven.
There's so much here in this quote itself. Here we are. Jesus is talking about compassion. Jesus is talking about judgment. Jesus is talking about condemnation. And Jesus is talking about forgiveness. Huge! These are 4 major proponents in all religions, I think. But, from what I see, going through the Old Testament, Jewish law, Jesus, at the time of Jesus, it was all Judaism, right? And Jesus was a Jew, and so there was no one outside of that realm, or not very many outside of that realm. So when it says your Father here, of course, we're more sensitive to that in this day and age. When we talk about Father, we're not necessarily thinking of a male figure here in this kind of written text. anybody would see God as being masculine or feminine. God is, but they called, God Father at the time, and I like to kind of look at that. You can put whatever word you want to there, but I like to use the word source, but there are many other words that we can use for that, so. So, these things here, I have to work on myself. Go ahead, Wendy.
I just so take this so different than I used to take, it says, if you don't judge, you won't be judged. If you don't condemn, you won't be condemned. And in the study of metaphysics and the study of our as within, so without, creating our own world, and I know that a lot of Christianity takes that God won't judge you and you'll go to heaven and all of these things. But it truly is a literal thing. If you don't judge, then you will not live in a world where people judge.
Yeah.
The world around you, the experiences. If you are compassionate, you'll be around compassionate people. And it used to be that my world was filled with men who were not nice. And I changed within, and my world is filled with men that are nice. And so literally, it's very literal.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. That's such a good point. Go ahead.
I was meditating on this once, and it just really, an insight came to me. That when I start judging them, I'm the one who put myself in the line.
Yeah.
And so then I have made people better than me and people less than me. Whichever way my ego is, it's still ego. And so if I take myself out of the line, then there is no judgment.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Go ahead, Rick.
Do you think there might be kind of, I don't know, how can I say this, like a way of sort of dealing with the society by sort of maybe having a little gossip, a little bump talk with your friend, backstabbing, I don't know, maybe like it's something, the way you could kind of go back out and deal with things,
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
share with your friends, like, oh my God, you've dealt with that one over there before, and you
Yeah.
get into a little, and maybe there's just a little sort of, you get stuff out of your head, and
I think there's all sorts of tools that we do have that we can use to help ourselves. And sometimes our close friends are into getting that kind of conscientious fatigue, but most of the time, most people aren't. Go ahead, Linda.
So I just see it as all as energy. And the Abraham teachers are always saying, wherever your energy is, wherever you are, that you can raise it. And what they would say about that is they would say, if you are living in fear, getting together and ragging about something and blaming is a higher energy than fear. You just don't want to stay there.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, this is my favorite scripture
Oh, okay, great.
of everything.
Yeah.
Because I think it represents psychological and spiritual freedom.
Susan, there's a paper there for you.
That to know, the first line is, you're beloved.
Okay.
Then the rest, and the last line is that you're free.
Yeah.
And and the middle part being is all you have to do to be free is non-judgmental stance. Just learn to go, wait a second, that's not.
How many times in a day do we catch ourselves in judgment?
That's hard.
Most of the time, maybe judgment of ourselves.
Of ourselves, yes.
That it's easy, just driving over here this morning, someone's going 5 miles an hour below the speed limit, can you believe it? And I'm going, wow, how quickly I go into, put your foot on the pedal, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to class there.
Back in '05, one of the things that I did an exercise with a group of people, and we wrote down and kept track of every judgmental statement that we
Yeah.
thought for the
Wow.
day
Wow.
as an exercise.
What an awareness
And it was,
tool.
it was
Yeah.
huge. I mean, it was over 100
Yeah.
for the day, and you just kind of go,
Metaphysical interpretation of this, one of the things is perfection is a state of mind that can be attained with the help of God. And again, when we use the word God, I think, using the word source, we're all part of God, right? But God is also something, God is within, but God is also without. So that higher power that we can all tap into. We're gonna have to move along to try and get most of these in, so. Q18, who wants to read? Go ahead, John.
give, and there will be gifts for you. A full measure of grain, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap, because the amount you measure out is the amount you will be given back.
All right, I love that. And I've heard Sue say this on, in church over and over and over again, and of course she used, like you use the term oozing out, which is so fun too. But anybody have any comments on this? It didn't say take and there will be gifts for you. It said give and there will be.
I have a comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
It doesn't count if you're thinking, okay, if I give, I'll get something back.
That's a good point. I like that. Generally, we just want that to be part of who we are, don't we? We want to be part of how, to me, I look at it as how can I help? How can I make someone's life a little bit easier? How can I make the world a little bit better? How can I give, without really making it an ego thing? Without trying to, well, if I do this, I'll get that. Go ahead.
Just lost my thought. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, it came back.
Good move. Love it.
Okay, this is what I call the faucet effect.
The what effect?
The faucet
Okay.
effect. When a faucet is being fed by the pipe,
Mhm.
it can only deliver what it receives.
Yeah,
But it's always the same.
yeah.
Whatever it gets, whatever it gives, whatever it receives, it delivers.
Yeah,
And it's a natural state of affairs, whether it's physical or whether it's spiritual.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
one of the things that's happening for me is during an Abraham class, actually, I got a message from Spirit. And Spirit said, Wendy, you understand these principles, but you're not gonna get any further unless you stop trying to stick your finger in a dam, use metaphysics to stick your finger in a dam, or to fix things, because our consciousness that constantly outforms a world that needs to be fixed needs a lot of things broken in order for us to fix them. And I really don't have all the answers, because I'm just in the midst of that, is how to have a consciousness of serving the world, but still seeing a whole wonderful world that doesn't need to be fixed, to create rather than fix.
Thank you. I think if we go about learning to live our lives, those things are gonna come in front of us. We're gonna be constantly fed the things that we need to learn, I think, and the things that maybe we need to act on. And it's our discernment, I think, for being able to be aware and then to go ahead and, go ahead.
So like, this is kind of like the law of attraction, right? Like if you put it out there, you're gonna get it back. But how do we know what what's the right amount to give? Because I know that, we're supposed to not live in the lack mindset, but
Yeah.
if we end up giving too much and then we go without,
Yeah.
like that's a reality, but at the same time, it's like in the Bible, Jesus was like, if somebody tries to like take something from you, like give them everything that you have. Like if they hit you, he said turn your cheek and let them slap the other cheek.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
do we give it literally until we can't give anymore, or is there like
It's really interesting, and I thought, the question you're asking there too, I've often thought of that myself. I think to me, it's trial and error. You know when it is the right amount to give, whether it be helping somebody. You cannot deplete yourself, because then how can you give any more later, So there has to be a healthy balance there. Papers for this too. So that's how I look at that. And I remember the story about, I remember a story about how a millionaire would give $1 million for a cause, and someone who was in destitution would give a penny, and that penny was of greater value because of, that was more value to that person than $1 million was to somebody.
The widow's mite, yeah.
Yeah. So there's no correct answer.
Right.
I think to me, it's trial and error. Go ahead.
I think you just know inside yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you know that you're giving, the first person I gotta take care of is me.
Yeah.
I cannot take care of someone else without taking care of me.
Yeah.
And so,
There has to be respect for the soul inside first.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, we had a lady come in, and she was talking about giving. She did a workshop, and she said that in her heart she knew what to give, and she would give. She gave money that was supposed to go to her rent, because in her heart she knew that was what she was supposed to do. And her rent money came in, and it came in over and abundant. So sometimes when you're sowing seeds, I can remember one time I was giving something to an organization, and she said, okay, so you're planting seeds, what kind of crop do you want? And I said, well, I want a new kitchen. And I'm thinking kitchen cabinets. I got a whole house with this amazing kitchen. So sometimes it depends on what your mindset is. You can sow seeds that are your last dollar, because in your heart you know that you're in the flow.
Yeah.
So it isn't about how much to give. It's about being in the flow and feeling this is what I'm supposed to do, and then watching the miracles as it comes back to you.
Thank you.
That just blow you away.
I wanted to share two stories on this, then move on. At Unity Village, we've been there. Our church has done a tour of Unity Village several times, but I remember being there one time a few years back, and one of the people that was walking around with us told a story, and I may get this a little bit wrong, but Dee, maybe you can correct me, or Sue, you can correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but there was a time when Unity Village was at that point, that critical point, where there was no money, and they had huge debts, and all of this construction had been going on, the beautiful buildings were being built, and literally they were in a crisis. And Unity's lawyer said, there's no way out of this, and you're gonna have to declare bankruptcy. And Charles, at the time, immediately fired the lawyer and said, Jesus Christ is our new lawyer. And of course, if you've ever been to Unity Village, you can see the results of that thinking. it's that, no, you don't have to go down that road. You can, overcome whatever challenge there might be out there and build back up to a point where it is overflowing and oozing out. At the same time that this was going on, I remember there was a story of Myrtle, and again, same situation, they were, I believe it was the women in Unity were praying about this situation, and one person said, oh, we need to concentrate on more money, and Myrtle said, no, we don't do that, we don't concentrate on it, we concentrate on faith, okay? Our foundation is built on faith. So, and again, the results are, spectacular. Let's go to Q19. Oh, I'm sorry, Dee, go ahead.
I just want to insert that when you're newer to Unity, you hear that and it bounces off because you don't believe it, and you have to believe it in your heart, not just your head. You have to take it all the way down and feel the faith that as you give, so you will be given.
Thank you, Dee.
Go ahead and do 19.
Well, I will.
Okay, go ahead, Dee. Yeah, go ahead and do 19. John, thank you.
Can one blind person lead another? Won't they both fall into a ditch? The student is not superior to the teacher, but if students are well taught, they will become like their teacher.
That's pretty powerful. We're here to teach, aren't we? All of us are. I see Unity as growing leaders. And so many here in our congregation are top, they are leaders. I mean, we have some phenomenal people here. And can one blind person lead another? Can two egos that think they know it all go anywhere? No, but if you're well taught, they can become like their teaching. So that's how I see that.
Well,
Go ahead, Brenda. Microphone?
Well, whenever I was working at Fort Scott Truck and Tractor, we was having trouble with the torque amplifiers, so high capacity, an outside company come in and wanted to know if we wanted to try those, and they said, but only one requirement. We want to teach you how to install our torque amplifiers correctly and our way. So my shop foreman said, I just got through disassembling a tractor and getting ready to put a torque in. We was waiting for a torque to come in. So the guy said, what do you think? And the shop foreman said, when will you have a torque for it? And he said, we can have a torque there in the morning and have your mechanic ready to, and we'll teach them how to do it our way. So I did it, and we was using those products ever since. And some of the other mechanics, and he said, you gonna let somebody show you how to do something that you already know how to do? And I said, yeah, if their product is good, it's good if they say they are, and we don't have to tear the tractor down 3 or 4 times to get it out the door. I'm game for it.
Got it. Thanks. Do we ever stop learning?
No.
Thank you.
Last
Quick and
breath.
concise, I like that.
That was quick.
Can we progress without a teacher?
Slowly.
We always have that inner
Okay.
teacher or spirit guiding us,
Okay.
one step at a time, like you
Okay.
say there.
And what I always think of this is that every time that I teach a class,
Mhm.
You always learn more.
I just am, you know, I'm the learner. I'm,
Always.
Yep, I agree, John, yeah, that's the greatest way to learn, teach it. Let's go ahead, we're gonna have to keep moving, we've already passed half the point here. Q20. This is one of my favorites, I love this.
Who do you notice,
Light evens.
why do you notice they speak of the sawdust in your brother's eye and not the wooden plank in your own? How can you say to your brother, let me take out the sawdust from your eye, when you cannot see the plank in your own?
Hypocrite.
Hypocrite, remove the plank from your own eye, then you will see clearly enough to remove the sawdust from your brother's eye.
Thank you. If you look under, first paragraph there, under historical, the last sentence, it says, is this a personal or a social commentary? Okay. That can be looked at as both, can't it? Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the situations where you go, how in the world can that country keep doing that to another country, and blah, 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 that they can't even see their own faults, you know? And it's so much easier for us to see the faults of another person than to see our own, isn't it? And I think this is where the lesson is for this, is that how can we judge others when we don't even know what the heck we're doing ourselves?
and I would say that when we are noticing something in somebody else, it's usually present in ourselves. It's usually a reflection of our own insecurity.
You spot it, you got it.
Right.
Not only do I know what's wrong with you, I know how to fix it.
And we're certainly quick to let them know, aren't we?
And Paul, it's just like that guy driving 5 miles an hour.
It's so true. It's so true. If we look at the metaphysical interpretation of that coming from the Metaphysical Bible, this is a quote. It says, "Until a man sees clearly, he cannot make himself or his ideas clear to another. The inner vision of what is true and abiding must be cleared up before man can understand either his own life purpose or the needs of his neighbor." Okay. So, if we all were so perfect and our world was all so understanding, and we knew the principles and we followed the principles, why do we have homelessness? Why do we have world hunger? Why do we have racism? Why do we have sex trafficking? You know, it's like, we're not looking. You know. We think that we have all the right answers. And clearly, something has gone awry. Any other comments on this quote?
Clearly, we're still growing.
Clearly, we're still growing. We've only got a few more millennia.
We can see clearly through the sawdust.
And we've also, about the topics that you mentioned, we mentioned the mic to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and jump to 21, Q21, next page. Go ahead, Elby.
No good tree produces rotten fruit, and no bad tree produces good fruit. Each tree is known by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes, nor gather grapes from blackberry brambles. Good people draw what is good from the treasure of their hearts. Bad people produce what is bad from the evil within them. A person's words flow from that.
Which? It's supposed to be which. Yeah, go ahead. A person's words flow from that which. Yeah.
Is
It's
treasure.
treasure.
It is treasure in the heart.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was my mistake when I was typing. Yeah.
Trying to fix something again.
Yeah, I know. make sense without that word in there, that's why I had to spur it.
I know.
Sorry. Thank you, Wendy.
So are there good people and bad people?
Good question. Anybody want to comment on that?
No.
I don't think so. I think it's really talking about a stream of consciousness
Okay,
arising out of a being,
yeah,
which is represented by the tree.
okay.
Consider the audience.
If you read verse 15, which was the verse just before, it says Matthew 7:16 through 20. Jesus was talking about a false prophet, okay? And that's where this came in, you know, that a good tree produces, no good tree produces rotten fruit, and no bad tree produces good fruit. So he's talking about other prophets or people who think they're prophets, I guess I should say. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there, in that context anyway. But I think we can, you know, go ahead.
What translation is this? Because fruit can rot on a tree, so that word it should be bad fruit because it's a different, it's saying a different kind of fruit, not that it doesn't
Yeah,
rot.
It's an analogy or
Yeah.
metaphor, it's not to be taken literally.
I don't think that we spend all our time trying to figure out whether that person's good or right or wrong. And for me, the only thing important is if I'm focusing in a way that is bringing good stuff, then that's the way I need to focus. If I'm focusing in a way, even if I think it's a good way, but all it's doing is creating contention and misery in the world, then that's bad fruit, and that's within me.
Well, I see Jesus, you know, just trying to point out to people, you have to be careful with, you know, where you're taking your words from. You know, who you're taking your words from. You know, when I'm working on the cold weather shelter and I'm working with 30, you know, people who have addictions, who have mental illness, boy, I hear it all the time, some pretty interesting words of advice. And if you want to go down the wrong road, you can come in and talk with, you know, many of them, you know, in the morning. There is something to be said for, you know, following others' advice, which we might not want to do. You know?
I also take this as a way of saying, consider the source. So when you're kind of what Wendy was saying, that if there's something that's rotten
Yeah,
and something that's negative,
yeah,
then that you see that is currently existing, then it's the sort, there's probably something in that person or that is
yeah,
of pain and
yeah.
of negativity that is kind of part of it.
What I've usually found is that free advice is usually worth it. Because everyone has a different experience,
Yeah.
and what's appropriate for one person is not necessarily appropriate for anybody else.
Yeah. You know, and if you go down to the second paragraph under historical, I put down what the Apostle Paul identified as good fruit. Okay, and he put 9 character attributes in there: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now there are many others, but these are 9 of the good fruits. And we can all determine what those good fruits are, can't we? We know when something feels good inside ourselves, and we have no qualms about it, you know. And I think it's great to be able to discern, because I think it takes a discernment in order to know which path to go on. You come to a Y in the road, am I gonna go down this way? Am I gonna go this way? You know, do I wanna go down the path of love and joy and peace? Or do I wanna go down the path of impatience, intolerance, anger, judgment, that which I did this morning when I was following the guy that was going 5 miles an hour slower than what I wanted to go.
Oh, come on, you wanted to go 5 over, not 5 under.
I think you were behind me.
Go ahead, Don.
This is what Wendy calls logic.
Yeah,
Do I want this or do I want that?
yeah,
You want what's good.
yeah, we do, absolutely. You know, if you look at on the metaphysical, they put in 3 different interpretations. And for false prophets, they put the deceptive thoughts that have been built up by erroneous desires. And then the fruit of the fruit is the fruition of ideas, okay? The ideas rooted in truth are gonna bring about things like love and joy and peace, cleanliness, success. Those not rooted in truth are gonna bring about those ego things, okay? And then it says that trees also represent nerves, and nerves are the expressions of thought. I just love the metaphysical interpretations that Charles and Myrtle taught, because it gave us another way of really looking at things, instead of maybe just looking at sometimes just the surface level things on the literal. It gave us a much deeper understanding of what we might need to look at. Go ahead, Brendan.
Also in this paragraph, it said something about the Sermon on the Mount. I think the other night I got the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox, and I was reading through that, and I think that might be something good to read too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, weren't you reading Emmett Fox yesterday, Sue? I was thinking it was, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was Ernest Holmes.
Ernest Holmes.
Okay.
I'm a tree person, I'll admit it. I'm a tree hanger.
Yeah.
But I just think this is really interesting that trees represent nerves, and nerves are the expressions of thoughts.
Yeah.
But if I am nervous and upset, there is nothing that calms me more than a walk in the woods.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was an interesting
Yeah, I love that.
thing that.
I'm gonna move us along. We've got 78 minutes left. Q22, who wants to volunteer? Who wants to give? Give and you shall receive.
I will volunteer.
Thank you.
Why would you call me Lord, Lord, and then not do what I say? I will show you what the person who comes to me, here's what I have to say, and acts accordingly is really like. The person is like someone building a house, who digs deeply and lays the foundation on bedrock. The rain pours down, the floods rise in a torrent, and the winds blow and beat upon the house, but it does not fall. It is built on a rock. But the one who listens and does nothing is like the person who builds a house on sand with no foundation. When the river bursts against it, it collapses immediately and is destroyed.
We've heard this before many, many times, haven't we? And what does it mean to you? Anybody wanna
Don't do
that?
things half-assed.
What's that?
Don't be half-assed.
All right.
We can study,
Mhm.
but if we never, I mean, the first line is, and then not do what I say.
Right,
So if we don't apply, it's the last principle, right?
yeah,
If we don't apply what we're learning, then we can have all the knowledge in the world.
yeah. Jesus came and gave us some pretty phenomenal lessons, and he really kind of took and toppled much of what was Jewish thought and Jewish law at the time. You know, if you read the Old Testament, you go back to the Jewish law, it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, isn't it? What did Jesus say?
And even if you just think about when you're in the quiet, you're in your inner thoughts, you go, this is what I need to do. And then if you don't follow what you know you need to do, I think that's what that's speaking. It's speaking to them. You're not even doing what.
Yeah.
I think it's talking about values, because it's valuable to build a good foundation. And if you don't have your own values, if you're just living your life by what you've been taught by other people, and you've never gone within and found out who you are, then the next person comes along and teaches something, you're off over there, and the next person you're off over there, and you're just shifting all over the place. But if you go and build your own core and know what you stand for, then somebody comes along, and if that doesn't resonate with you, it's not gonna do anything, it's just gonna be there, but you're not gonna be affected by it. And I think that's the core that's the foundation, is knowing your own values and then standing on them.
Thank you, LB. I think that's so important. You know, our values, our boundaries, our principles. If we know what it is that builds us, that just we thrive on, we can stand firm. You've seen many people that they, you know, the next thing that comes along, blows in the wind, they're following that, aren't they, you know? They might fall right into a ditch doing it, but they're gonna follow it. And for us, we can quickly say no, or quickly go, yeah, this is the path. Go ahead, Jesse.
I think we need to realize is that I personally, I can't judge for anyone else. I personally will catch myself seeing something that needs to be done and saying to myself, well, somebody will do it. But maybe that someone should be me if I see it.
Yeah.
Because that's how I.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna jump to Q24. We're gonna skip we're gonna skip 23. On Q24, now I'm not going to read this one because of the time. I want you to go down to the historical on the second paragraph. It's actually the last two sentences. It says, it is typical of the synoptic gospels that Jesus does not declare that he is the Messiah. He does not proclaim himself, he proclaims the kingdom of God. Okay? So, I want to point this out because I think Unity follows this pretty strongly. Okay? That, does Jesus say he's God in the Bible? Does Jesus physically say, his stuff? No.
He does not.
He calls himself what?
Son of God. And he calls himself Son of Man.
Son of Man.
But wasn't that like the three faces of God? Sometimes he talks about God, sometimes he talks as if he's God, and then he said, what's the other one? Then there was three, what's the third one?
He does say that he and God are one, he and his Father are one.
Are
I am the
we
Father,
and
Lord.
God one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says
So,
that we are too.
we're, anyway, I just wanted to point that one out. Go ahead, Tony.
It says, do you not know that you are God's? And I don't know if that's in the Q gospel, but he says, do you not know that you are God's?
Yeah, correct.
And so, he's putting us all in the same boat.
Yeah. I think what I'm trying to point out here is that Jesus didn't go around saying, worship me. He said, follow me. And, so anyway. Go ahead, Wendy.
I think it's important to remember though, it's like those people who see Jesus as God and they worship him, some of those people are more connected than those of us who think we would say, no, he's not. It's not the words, it's not how we look at it, and that's why not judging is the most important.
I know people that have other gods, have other teachers, You know, I was involved in yoga and, you know, Eastern thought for many years. And there's a lot of gurus out there that are pretty darn incredible. And I, you know, not that I
A lot who aren't.
participated, yeah, but there were people who were very devoted to God that had another teacher, you know. I would never be one to say they're wrong, nor would I be wrong to say of a Christian that who follows Jesus as being God and the only person that is God. Yes, you're right. I used to work in many Christian colleges, you know, during my adult working life. Some of the best people I've ever met were Christians, strong Christians, from very conservative churches. So you're right. And John, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just gonna say that if the, to Wendy's point, if you see that spiritual being, that God of Jesus, and then you identify with that which he taught, that's a way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna go to Q25. Who wants to read? Someone that hasn't, maybe. Go ahead, Pat, thank you.
Go on.
25.
Up until the time of John the Baptist, we had the law of Moses and the words of the prophets. Since John arrived, the good news about God's realm has been announced. And now people everywhere are rushing to get in.
Okay, thank you, Pat. You want to give the microphone back to Pat?
I want to read what?
That's it. No,
No,
that's it.
that's it.
Oh. Give him the phone back. Microphone.
So basically what this one is saying is that, if you read the historical, Elijah, during the times of Elijah, Malachi had been the last prophet. There was a lot of turmoil in the area and people had become violent. And now with John the Baptist coming, the good word had started. Okay, that's basically, there's not a whole lot to say about this, I don't think so. But if everybody has some comments, let's take those, otherwise let's move on to Q26. Okay. Go ahead, who wants to read Q26? Someone who hasn't read yet. Go ahead, over here, John.
How should I describe the people of this generation? What are they like? They are like children who sit in the marketplace and call to one another. We played the flute for you and you didn't dance. We sang sad songs and you would not weep. For John the Baptist came not eating bread, not drinking wine, and you said he is crazy. Now the Son of Man comes eating and drinking, and you say, just look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and outcasts. But wisdom is being proven right by all her children.
All right, thank you. Okay, so what I see is what Jesus is saying here is that, hey, you know, you had this guy, John the Baptist, who's preaching this great stuff. You know, he's a very austere person, though. He's miles away from where the population is. He doesn't get crazy or anything like that. And here I am, I'm teaching the same stuff, and I'm wild. I go out into the bars and I drink, I sit down and talk to prostitutes, I do, I will not keep myself from being out there with anybody, all the sinners, okay? And you're not looking at John the Baptist and you're not looking at me, okay, so what the heck do you want? It's like, these are the lessons for us to learn, okay? Take it from the conservative, take it from the liberal. But if you're not taking it, you're not getting it.
Just you know.
Good idea.
Go ahead.
I think metaphysically and spiritually, we are not our circumstances. And so much we just wanna look at people's circumstances and not who they are internally, because some of the happiest people I've ever seen on this planet had next to nothing.
Yeah.
And so it's not about always the well. And then we can also, I really think that reason can become our God versus spirit. And if we don't take it to that next level of spiritual and we only stay in our head and not make that journey down, then we're stuck in judging the world by circumstances in the outside.
Thank you. Okay, we've got just 4 minutes, let's do the last one. I can't believe we're gonna go through this.
Barely.
One person, last quote. Great, thank you.
As they walked along the road, they met a man who said to Jesus, I will follow you wherever you go. Jesus answered, foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head. To another he said, follow me. But that person replied, let me go and bury my father first. Jesus answered, let the dead bury their dead. Your duty is to go and spread the news of the realm of God. Another person said, I will follow you, but first let me go and say goodbye to my family. Jesus said to him, no one who puts a hand on the plow and continues to look at what was left behind is suited for the realm of God.
Thank you, Brad. I know I'm sorry we don't have a whole lot of time for comments. If you have something quick that you want to say about this, there is a whole lot here. I tried, it's a whole page of stuff.
I just see that as being attachments,
Okay,
that can keep you from spiritually growing.
thank you. That's a really good, concise way of looking at it.
It is.
Go ahead, Jerry.
It's also a here and now thing. It's here, it's now. You have to do it now.
Exactly. If you take this literally and you look at it literally, Jesus was teaching his, quote, disciples, he was pretty much teaching them, hey, listen, you are going to give everything up. You're going to be homeless and you're going to be beggars. If you want to follow me. Now, he's not talking to the general population. He's talking to the people who are going to be leading. So that's how I see that in a literal sense. If you go down to the very last paragraph on this page, I'm going to go ahead and read it. This is a quote from Eric Butterworth, a Unity teacher. No one looking back is fit for the kingdom. The kingdom of God refers to the divine possibility, the kingdom of fulfillment. No one is fit for the fulfilling of his desires and ideals if he sets out on faith, carries with him the secret reservation, and then retreats back across the bridge in security when he needs to. And how I see this is that he's saying, always look ahead. Always look ahead. The past is gone. We don't need to keep going back into the past. And that life is fluid. It's dynamic. And that life is always moving. That's how I read that.
I would also say that in the Abraham way of thinking, that it's also about allowing, the art of allowing, and quieting those but what if thoughts that can keep us from.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. That is it. I'm going to be going ahead and reading the announcements here. Thank you, Rick. Okay, the Unity Drum Circles, twice a month on the first and third Thursdays at 6:30. So that's this Thursday, the 16th, and all are welcome. Spring Fashion Boutique is Friday. Okay, this Friday from 5 to 7. I believe it's in this room. Saturday from 8 to 11. If you have donations, please bring them to church by 4 p.m. Everyone's welcome. That's pretty much a women's thing, isn't it? I mean, I don't think it's men's clothes.
They had men's clothes.
They had men's clothes too?
They have in the past.
Okay.
I don't know that it's restricted to that.
Okay.
So,
I
if
shouldn't
you
have
have
said that.
guy stuff, it'll probably get sold.
Okay. Stephanie Barton, she's a nurse, a medium, spiritual teacher. She's holding a workshop titled Talk to Your Angels, Loved Ones, and Spirit Guides this Saturday. 1 o'clock, you can sign up on our website or out in the foyer. The cost is $25, and then she'll be doing the talk next Sunday. So if you haven't seen Stephanie Barton, well, next Sunday, she is phenomenal. Next Sunday at the 9:15 New Thought and World Religion class, James Master and Bobby Delmar will begin a 3-part discussion on the book Belong. Please join us for Unity on the Grass on the last Saturday each month at 7 p.m. through September. This is live music from our outdoor stage, outdoor singer, featuring local artists with a focus on original material. I'm so glad we're doing that.
It
Which-
was
what day of
amazing
the-
last week.
I'm so, I didn't get to attend, but,
What day of the month is it?
it's, last Saturday of each month,
Okay.
7 p.m. at our stage. You know, bring your
Lawn chair.
lawn chair
Cheers.
and, wow, I'm
It
so
was
glad we're
really
doing that.
amazing last time.
For our May Earth Care, we'll be raising money to purchase indoor and outdoor recycling containers. We need to raise $565 to cover the cost. So we're selling raffle tickets for a custom portrait of your fur baby. An amazing local artist donated this gift, which is valued at $150.
Who's the artist?
I don't know, it doesn't say. On June 1st, the staff would like to invite all volunteers to an appreciation luncheon at 11:30. So that's June 1st, mark your calendars. If you've ever done anything in volunteering here, show up, this is your time to be celebrated. Our community cupboard continues to be accessed weekly by individuals and families. That's right, right outside the hallway there. We'd like to try a new initiative to help ensure we have food for all of those who stop by. If we would bring one non-perishable and in-date food item for our pantry at home each Sunday to put in our community cupboard, it would always be stocked. I think what they're trying to do is every time you come to church, bring one food item. And that way we're always covered. That's a pretty cool way. All right, I'm going to finalize this by making a circle. Oh, don't forget your baskets too, donation basket right there.